morning and thank you for joining us. This is Sunrise and I am Alero Edu.
I'm Ayo Makine. Good morning and welcome. I hope you have your cup of cocoa, or is it cocoa? You know, it's always better to start your day with a hot cup of cocoa or cocoa. You may proceed. Why are you laughing? It's just been civil. Look, we can't always praise what is foreign and not recognize and appreciate what is Nigerian. Don't call it local, please.
Cocoa is not foreign. It's not foreign.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What of cocoa?
Cocoa is from the western part of Nigeria.
That's
now,
cocoa.
what is your...
Cocoa is foreign, but cocoa?
Oh, God. I want to take issue with service providers this morning because I had an experience in the course of the week. An entire estate was left without internet service for almost 48 hours with no explanation, no apology, nothing.
They should learn from my own ISP. My ISP will tell you before the problem starts.
You will be informed.
When the problem starts, you are informed almost, almost every hour or every 2 hours. We're working on it.
Some residents even made calls to numbers of people they had, but the calls were not picked up. I promise you. Until now, okay, the service returned after almost 48 hours, but till now there's no apology, nothing. And I can tell you the reason for it. Because in that neighborhood, this particular company is the only one that works so far. But I promise you guys, as soon as others move to that area, the residents will toss you out so fast, you wouldn't know what hit you.
This area is Lekki Axis, I assume?
It is Lekki Axis, yes.
Just so
Yes, the Kate area. So you know yourself. You know yourself, the internet provider that I'm talking to. This is a classic case of taking your customers for granted.
And I don't know...
But once they have a choice, they'll forget about you, I promise.
And I don't know why that should even be an issue, especially at a time like this. And this particular, ISP that you're talking about made a lot of noise to get into the market. A lot of.
Well, how do you know which one I'm talking about?
Well, I have an idea. There are quite a few of them. So,
all right.
So that's it.
Okay,
That's
all right.
that.
Pandora.
I'm not really moved by the Pandora papers. Because we have bigger Pandora papers in Nigeria and we haven't done anything about it. Every year since 2015, Alera, we've been having the Auditor General's report. 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, names of ministries, departments, and agencies are in those papers, on those pages. A classic example is 2017. Sarah did an analysis of that, of the Auditor General's report of 2017. 2 trillion naira is hanging in MDAs, or rather, was said to be hanging in MDAs. Mentioned the names of heads of parastatals, heads of departments, heads of ministries that are supposed to do the needful to at least, even if you are not returning the money, account for the money properly. Those ones haven't been done. 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019 is out.
Why are you getting all het up?
So, and some people are now talking about some Pandora boxes or whatever.
Ayo, the ones reporting are the ones who are doing it. It is we. So what is your problem? Who is going to investigate those people?
The Auditor General's report is from the Auditor General's office, right?
Okay.
But it is usually produced and gathered, researched by KPMG. So it's a private sector. It's boring. Oh dear. But that's the point. So
don't you live in Nigeria?
I have lived all my life in Nigeria.
Good. So, is it not the same Nigeria that governors tell you they're not aware that they're supposed to declare their assets or they're not sure. I mean, they're not aware that they're supposed to declare assets jointly owned. In this same country, where it is stated in the Constitution, which they hold up when they're being sworn in, I mean, you begin to wonder, well, can they read? Or do they understand what they're reading?
That's why the Pandora
And then
papers...
you're shouting about auditors' reports. As they say in Pidgin, one thing, two thing. Who is the one going to investigate those who have chopped that money?
This is not a question of investigating. The investigation has been conducted.
Okay.
The Auditor General's report is the report of the investigation.
Okay, so indict.
Some have been indicted already. That's my point.
So they're still being indicted. Give up, man. Give up.
I can't give up.
Oh.
If any, Alera, look, you and I know. I don't know about you. I know about you. If anything happens to this country, where exactly are you going to go? Village?
Anyway, they say that there's going to be a census next year. 2022, there's going to be a census. 2023, there's going to be election.
Wait.
Do I smell a rat?
How is that going to happen? Can you conduct 2022 in an election, a census in an election year? Have we done it before?
No, the year before the election.
Who says? That's an election year. Forget it.
2022.
Yes.
Census, 2023.
Election is in February. What are you talking about? That's electioneering period. There's going to be a lot of movement.
So...
There's going to be a lot of movement, so politicians are going to be...
Of human beings and cattle, which are also going to be counted.
Cattle. I thought the Federal Ministry of Agriculture already counted those ones. We have a population of their population already. I think since how many years ago?
Do we?
So you, as a farmer, you don't know how many cows and goats you have?
I do. I know how many I have. I don't know how many you have.
So why would the federal government of Nigeria have to count the cattle all over Nigeria?
Well,
when the owners can give them the figures?
Because there's an election coming.
So
that we'll know how many people have registered, or how many are we, how many of us have registered, and how many of us vote.
So does that include cattle?
We hear so. They tell us so.
Can we move on, please?
Yes, okay. Still talking about votes. I'm sure you heard the INEC chairman saying yesterday that they found on the register of voters that about 30,000 people had registered twice.
No, 62,968 or so.
That's right.
If one is going to be precise.
Okay, obviously, if they found those people voted twice, they have their names. What is going to happen to
62,698
What's going to happen to those people?
And guess what? There are cases of double voter registration in Anambra. And
What's going to happen to
the election
those
is just
people?
about a month ago.
So we'll just leave that question hanging, right?
Well, I guess that would have to be depend on the assignment that the INEC would assign, beg your pardon, to ensure that the needful is done about that one, because, and thankfully it is electronic.
We hope so.
It is electronic registration that has helped us to do this.
Because some people have to be held accountable so that we don't have these things repeating themselves all the time.
Still talking about votes. How many people voted for this recently concluded reality TV program?
Oh, please.
1
Did we?
billion.
1 billion, we hear. At 30 naira per vote.
At 30 naira per vote. That's how much? 30 billion for the account, you. Isn't that what it comes to? Now, that only tells me one thing. If we want youth inclusion, we know where to go. It's just as simple as that. We know where the youths are. We know the things that interest them. Let us package Nigeria to appeal to the young people. Because if we don't, they will always find a Niger.
Well, Niger is competing with Nigeria now. So what do we do?
Well,
we need to get them to Nigeria.
I guess that's just a straight work for the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
From Niger to Nigeria.
Yes, because they have created their own nation. So the Federal Ministry of Information would know what to do and partner with all this, all the states as well, because hey, it's all about our menu.
Okay, the menu this morning. We're going to start with funding the 2022 budget. That's a biggie.
Very, very big one.
That's a biggie.
I think that's going to be in the convo for at least the rest of this month.
16 trillion naira budget.
We're going to borrow 6 trillion of that.
Wow.
Well,
Anyway,
more on that
economists are going to come and tell us how we're going to work this out, you know.
Well, stemming influx of substandard products at a time when we're talking about Nigeria becoming a producing nation. That's coming next.
Okay. And then we shall turn our eyes on International Day of the Girl Child.
This only reminds me of, I think 1987 that we had the IYC, International Year of the Child, or something like that. But then there's going to be Ijoya 4.0, Awareness and Screening Campaign. I hope I pronounced that right. Because is it Ijo or Ijo? I don't know, but you'll find more on that later.
And then we'll follow that up with NCAA on issuance of Air Operator's Certificate, AOC.
About time. Arise Women's Conference will be the last issue on the menu today, and it has something embedded, which is part of our, what's the one? Home stretch. That's the menu today.
So get your ogi or
no, please,
cocoa.
please. Cocoa or cocoa, please.
And make yourself comfortable and just spend the next 3 hours odd with us on Sunrise this morning. See you in just a moment.
O God of creation, direct our noble cause.
Day after President Mahmoud Buhari presented the 2022 appropriation bill of 16.39 trillion naira before the National Assembly, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, is giving a breakdown of the highlights of the budget to the public. She begins with an overview of the performance of the 2021 budget.
Of the expenditure, 2.87 trillion was utilized for debt service, while 2.57 trillion was utilized for personnel costs, including pensions and gratuities. As at the end of August, 1.75 trillion naira had been expended for capital projects.
On the 2022 appropriation bill, the minister says in aggregate that 4.9% of projected revenues is to come from oil-related sources, while 65.1% is to be earned from non-oil sources.
The projected aggregate revenue available to fund the 2022 budget is 10.13 trillion, and this is inclusive of government-owned enterprises revenues. This revenue is 24.8% higher than the 2021 projection of 8.12 trillion.
She also says the rationale for the revision of the 2022-2024 medium-term fiscal framework includes 100 billion naira additional provision for INEC toward advanced preparations for 2023 general elections, 400 billion naira for national poverty reduction with growth strategy, 178.1 billion naira provision for population and housing census scheduled for 2022, and 37 billion naira additional provision for MDA's electricity bills debts, among other things. The overall budget deficit is 6.26 trillion naira for 2022, which represents 3.39% of GDP, and it is to be financed mainly by borrowings from domestic sources, foreign sources, multilateral, bilateral loan drawdowns, and privatization proceeds, which the minister says are still within sustainable limits.
Nigeria's budget deficit is at minus 4.7%. in 2021, and the debt to GDP ratios of 21.6% are the lowest amongst Nigeria's comparator countries.
In terms of the sectoral allocation, defense and security sector takes the lion's share of 2.4 trillion naira, followed by infrastructure with over 1.4 trillion naira and education with over 1.2 trillion naira.
We also provided 54.87 billion for Gavi immunization funds, including counterpart funding for donor-supported programs, including global funding. We also provided 54.05 billion transfer to the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. So the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund has been on statutory transfer since 2020, which means it's on autopilot. They get the 1% of the CRF.
The presentation generates reactions majorly on poor revenue generation in the country, over reliance on oil revenue sources and borrowings to fund budget. While the public presentation of the appropriation bill by the federal government is commendable, Nigerians are however waiting to see how funds budgeted will be utilized. Empress Simon, Channels Television News.
Welcome back. Now let's get the show on the road. Well, as you heard from that report, on Thursday, the President, Muhammadu Buhari, presented a proposed budget of 16.39 trillion for the year 2022 to the National Assembly. So we're going to look at the estimated budget and the impact of borrowing more money on the federal government and the economy of Nigeria, as well as the impact of that budget proposal on Nigerians, as in Nigerians, their standard of living, as well as their cost of living. We have two knowledgeable guests with us. Dr. Biodun Adedikpe, Management and Financial Consultant, is here with us in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
And joining us virtually is Mr. Charles Iyore, Principal Partner, Dion and Associates, and he's joining us from Kent. Good morning. Good morning. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
Good to have you with us.
Well, I'm happy to be here,
My Lord.
Dr. Adedikpe, to your mind, what are the highlights of this budget? 16.39 trillion, out of which we're looking to borrow about 6 trillion. That is the common man's reaction. We're going to borrow more money, and we're going to borrow 6 trillion. How are we going to pay back all this money?
Okay. Thank you so very much for that. I think, when it comes to national budget, there are some fundamentals that determine how we interpret it and what Nigerians should expect.
Okay.
So the first is the premise, and that talks to what has been the journey so far in 2021 as a background to 2022 we are projecting for. So, and of course, if you look at that, as of July this year, we're actually running fiscal operations at a deficit of 4.17 trillion naira as of July this year. So now that talks to the reality of the economic environment we are in. Yes, we generate revenue quite all right. It is growing, no doubt, because the price of crude oil this year has firmed up. In actual fact, it's in line with what we projected at the beginning of the year. In fact, above what we projected. Because we then projected about $72 per barrel. But now it's testing $80 per barrel. Now, that's one premise. Revenue improved, but it has not been able to catch up with our spending. Okay. Secondly, we now talk about the assumptions. So, and the question there is, how realistic are these assumptions? And of course, oil is still a major factor in our budgeting.
Benchmark 57.
Exactly, benchmark $57 per barrel. Production 1.88 million barrels per day, which of course is a reflection of Nigeria's allocation from OPEC Plus and the reality of global economy. Is it going to grow further in 2022, which we also expect as more and more countries get over the third wave of COVID-19, and of course the world is moving gradually towards herd immunity, especially in the advanced countries. Okay, so if that happens, the major economies will also grow. That creates demand for hydrocarbons, and that falls back on Nigeria with our premium crude or burning light. Okay, so that given. Then we now ask ourselves, and that is the big question you actually asked, what are the priorities in this budget. Now, in that, there are two heads. The first is we have a National Development Plan for 2021 to 2025. So ordinarily, a budget is an implementation tool. So the first question that we ask is this budget taken from that plan? So if it is, then we are in the right direction. Then the budget also focus generally is on economic growth and of course, sustainability. So how does that happen? And that brings us to the priorities. The budget sets 6 priority areas, okay? First, it talks about diversification. And when you interrogate the numbers, you actually will find that the 10.13 trillion that federal government will have for spending in 2022, that is revenue projected to be generated, actually has oil less than non-oil revenue, if you look at it. So in fact, oil there is about 30%, thereabout, of that 10.13 trillion. So that, for me, is already a direction, an improvement of over what we had historically. So that process of diversifying the revenue is already in process. I mean, it's already ongoing. So that's on the one hand. Now, the budget also talks about committing resources, financial resources, into critical infrastructure. And that is the connection to the future. So in which case, if truly we commit more funds to critical infrastructure, that's like 5 trillion in that budget, and we go for capital expenditure. Okay? So if 5 trillion goes into capital projects, that means critical infrastructure is getting the proper attention it requires. We've been talking about deficit
We hope.
for so many years. Okay? But there's a challenge there. It's not so much as allocating that much for capital spending. But how do we extract value? Because I listened to your comments earlier on.
That's it.
About the report of the Auditor General.
We'll come to that.
Okay.
We'll come to that.
So that would be
But let's take
Yes.
Mr. Iyore's opening comments on this. Are you on the same page with Dr. Adedikwe on the presentation that the president has made of the budgets that he laid before the National Assembly?
Good morning, and good morning, Dr. Adedikwe. Great effect. Brilliant young man who was first class in economics. But what I always do basically is that when we do analysis like this, I want the man on the streets to know what we're talking about. Otherwise, we're just plucking figures from the sky and confusing them the more. So what is a budget? So it's a budget in the House, it's a budget in the local government, and then there's the federal budget. So start with the budget in the House. So what you're saying basically is that you have an idea of what you need to spend and have an idea of what you have, and you have to lay it out properly. That's what the budget is. Then, you then have to realize, how did this budget come about? The budget is an instrument of state's execution of its promises. Before you become a government, you write what is called a letter of intention, which is called the manifesto, because you don't have all the facts. When you get into government, you then run with what is called a budget, which is law. Therefore, it must be based fairly and firmly in reality. Otherwise, you're taking everybody in the wrong. So let's take Madam Alero's house. Every year, every day, they spend 3 tubers of yam to have their favorite pounded yam regularly. And the father decides, look, let's do better today. I'm going to have to borrow 2 more tubers of yam, so you can all have 5 tubers of yam for food. Now, if we tell you that, because you all work hard, the money that the yams I've taken from my friend, I can return, which is a good assumption. The second one you then do is to say, look, because I brought 5 tubers of yam, now instead of 3, does not mean you must waste the 3 that you have. Because if you waste the 3 that you have, all of those projections will be wrong. So like you said, the budget is based on a few assumptions. One of the clear assumptions you hear about is the value of the oil and how much they're going to sell it. But that's only one very simple and very little assumption. There are very many assumptions that you need to make. And because there are very many variables And the more of those variables the government can control, the better it can manage its budget. But if it allows itself to lose all those controls...
Mr. Oyeri, my sincere apologies. I'd like us to pace up a little on this conversation because we don't have so much time. But on this assumption, I have a question for you and Dr. Adedipe. In the budget speech that the president read, he said, and I quote, actual revenues were 34% below target as of July 2021, and he gave reasons. Next item, the federal government's share of oil revenue totaled 570.23 billion naira as of July 2021, which was 51% below target. Two assumptions fell way below target. Interestingly, in the year we're looking at ahead, we're expecting to spend more, borrow more, assume more. Are you optimistic?
You see, I like the question you're asking, but what we're doing is not an elite preserve. The person on the street needs to understand what we're talking about. And I've told you basically, like Dr. Adegbe has told you, if your assumptions are not sound, you will not get to where you're going. So I was going to tell you what those assumptions are. You stopped us in the track. I told you one of the assumptions is the price of oil. The other assumption is the strength of your currency. And the other main assumption, which I has already told you, is the priorities of what you intend to do. So I wasn't part of that budgeting process. So it would be unfair of me to be talking about whether the percentages are right or wrong. All I want to do is to give you the consumer analysis so you yourself can come to those conclusions as to whether those are right or wrong. Now, he's giving us a figure about exchange rates. And the minister has also talked about inflation. But he's not talking about inflation as targets. He's talking about inflation as a measure. When you want to run the budget, you must set inflation as a target. In other words, you don't want to pump too much money into the system. Two, will your currency hold value? If your currency is not holding value, it means that your take-home pay will not get you home. And the whole question unravels, which is why you have labor unrest. So I'm saying that the key thing for you is not just to jump into the area they're talking about. I don't have those skills, and I expect you not to have those skills. But I want to give you the ability to interpret that properly so you come to a defined and informed position.
You've given us all the homework, clearly. You've given everyone.
You said that you're ready to listen.
But my sincere apologies, we really don't have more time, but I would like us to cover as much as possible of this so that, as you said, the Nigerian can understand the issues and be able to and know what to expect. So, Dr. Adedipe, I'm going to put the same question to you. On the one hand, actual revenue fell short by 34%. Oil revenue fell short by 51%. And our assumptions seem to have risen this year, and revenue assumptions also have risen. So I'm just wondering, if we had such a shortfall in the previous year, in this ongoing year, what's the assurance for the year ahead? Are there structures that you think will help governments to be able to achieve those targets?
Yeah, thank you. That's a very important question you raised there. And the way we look at this is from the two perspectives to revenue. The oil revenue, which of course is driven by those two major numbers, the price and production, vis-a-vis export. Because actually the export of crude oil in Nigeria is a derivative of what we produce. Because the typical pattern, check the pattern in the last 40 years plus, is that there is a provision of about 450,000 barrels per day. Anytime you look at our figures, export figures, it is always production less 450,000 barrels. So which means if we talk about production at 1.88 million barrels per day, that means what we actually will generate revenue from that is talking about foreign earnings will be 1.88 less 0.45. So that would be the export figure we expect in 2022. So now we take that vis-a-vis the average price of crude oil at $57 per barrel. The actual price can be higher, can be lower. Okay? This is just an average assumption. So but it's to generate some numbers to look at So it doesn't actually mean that is what we see in reality. So the question now is, what can make this sort of numbers we're looking at happen?
Yeah.
A lot of that will depend on what happens to the two largest economies in the world today. That the US economy and the Chinese economy.
Wow.
So if they grow strongly in 2022, then there are chances that other economies like that of India and the rest of them can also generate the demand for hydrocarbons. Okay? But whether we like it or not, the next 10, 15, 20 years, the world will still be using fossil fuel. That's the reality. If you look at interrogate alternative energy and what is trending there. So it then means that there's a likelihood that if that demand grows and the global economy also, begins to grow after the recovery from COVID-19, then there's a likelihood that that demand will also sustain our expectation.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to non-air revenue, it's a different ballgame. And that is where I have an observation there. A remark made yesterday by the chairman of FRS with respect to taxes. And he said, oh, only 41 million Nigerians out of 200 million. I said, no, that's not correct. Should be talking about 41 million out of 58.6 million who are those who are gainfully employed. And of course, I take that data from the unemployment report of the NBS for third quarter of 2020. Okay, people that are in employment in Nigeria were 58.6 million. So if we go by the 41 million he referenced, that means the gap we need to bridge then is about 17 million that are in employment, but are not yet in the tax basket. So what the budget also at implementation will be focused on is how do we get more of these people into the tax basket?
And how do we even now expand the tax basket by creating more employment?
Precisely.
Which now speaks to the need to energize Nigeria's production capacity.
Fantastic.
Many people are talking about the fact that the OPS is unable to have a pleasurable business environment. Despite all of the efforts of ease of doing business and all those things, the private sector is still challenged. We are not a producing economy, which is one thing that Mr. Ayore has also mentioned, that if we are a producing economy, the economy will do better, then micro, small, and medium enterprises will be able to produce and generate jobs. Do you see these budgets going in that direction in any way?
Well, there is something we must also address our minds to. A budget is an announcement of intentions.
But it is going to become a law, Dr.
Yes, it will become a law.
That will govern our lives for the next year.
Unfortunately, we have never treated the budget as a law in Nigeria.
Really?
Because if we really treat it as a law, that means by the time you end the year and you bring out a scorecard, any variance between the reality of accomplishments or achievements and that budget should become a subject for conversation and interrogation. So we should be talking about that. And that brings me to a remark you made earlier before this segment started. And that is, historically in Nigeria, we only talk about execution of budget in terms of we spent this much. We don't place emphasis on the deliverables. And that is what I see.
The value that
we get out of it. And that is what connects to the question you asked. How can we create jobs and also create wealth?
Okay. Mr. Ayore, he has mentioned, well, both of them have spoken about the non-oil sector as a means of generating funds. From what we have been told on this program several times, some business MSc people have come here and told us how difficult the terrain is for them to do business. Those who are in export, some of them were here 2 weeks ago when we were talking about Apapa ports or the ports in Lagos, and they told us the myriad of problems they're having, how their goods, sometimes their produce never gets to the port, they rot on the way to the port. How can we improve our economy in such a way that the non-oil sector is also able to contribute meaningfully to the economy?
Thank you very much. I always say you need to define what you want to say. For me, this is perhaps one of the best budgets we've had in a very, very long time. best budget. Because the minister has said clearly she intends to complete and collect her collections so that the gap between the supplement the government has to make in using dollar as an anchor is reduced. That is phenomenal. And I expect that to go beyond to say all the linkages that support production will be strengthened. And I think this is where we need to support her and her team about what they are doing. So when you talk about all those things, all of those figures are here. I like to do models. If you talk about the performance of an economy, you now ask yourself, what are those units of the economy? When you're talking about a car, you know whether the car is fast or slow. When you're talking about an economy, you're talking about an ecosystems. Do the ecosystems work? Can the currency hold value? Can your salaries wage you on? Is the countryside decimated? Those are the key issues. And I believe she wanted to begin to address those issues. And we must hold her to that account. Rather than talking about her historical perspective and how well the external performance will lift our own economy. I'll give you an example. This one sold a tuber of yam in Benue last year for 5 naira. And this year, you say you cannot pay him 50 kobo for it. Will he remain there? That's where she's going. And that's where we need to support her to ensure that those linkages are built, that the ecosystems work, that the liquidity anchor of the dollar for currency creation in central bank is stopped, that those who hold offices by election are champions of development and then just drawing salaries and doing nothing. Otherwise, there will be nothing to budget. So when we talk about those things, which is why I kept telling Mr. Makinde, if people don't understand the perspective they're talking about, it is difficult for them to work. This budget is saying, okay, we're going to borrow 2 tubers of yam, but the 3 that we have, use them properly. Now we must hold them on that one and make sure they move down that road effectively so they have work and results to do. Like I said earlier on, you don't announce inflation rates as a result. You set inflation targets and use that to determine how money goes into your system. Thank you.
And how would you suggest that Nigerians would cooperate with the Federal Minister of Finance, just as you have said? Because the only thing that comes to people's mind is we're borrowing too much. And the narrative is quite significant. It's impressed on many people's minds. And we're still going to borrow again to fund this same budget. So how, in your opinion, should Nigerians cooperate with the Minister of Finance?
It must start with central bank. The volume of money that is translated into naira to support the currency must stop. Because what you have basically is not a market. You say this is how much dollars you have, this is how much naira you need to generate, and you just do a translation. That's not the market. And we said that a long time ago when even Dutch auction was there. For the first time, the Treasury is standing up to the system. I give her credit for that. I give him, Ben Akabozi and the minister, credit for that. The Treasury needs to set the standard and set the boundaries. And they are beginning. That's where I want the discussion to go. I want the discussion to see why are all those industries in Ibadan, Lubeju, Ikeja, where have they all gone silent? Those are the issues. And when you try and use differential interest rate, exchange rate to correct them, you cause even more distortion. This is the first time
you've answered my question, Mr. Yore, and thank you for that. But Dr. Adedikwe, a sizable number of Nigerians, we said earlier, are young. And a good number of them have no jobs. And they are potential taxpayers. That's right. If they have jobs. I mean, with the figure you quoted the other time, if about 60, let's say 50% of the people who have the capacity to make money do not have jobs, it's a loss for the federal government because they will not be able to raise any money from anywhere. So how do you see us helping government in that regard? Because, I mean, reference the ease of doing business environment and the potential if people have jobs.
All right, thank you so very much for that. My response to it will come from this perspective that when you pair economic activities, they fall in 3 planks. There is the production, there is consumption, and there is exchange. You may call it trade that connects the two of them. So which means for you to create value, you must be involved in those three areas, all right? Now, the big question for us in Nigeria today is, what do we consume? In fact, if you interrogate the data, the latest data available, as at the first half of this year, Nigeria imports monthly, average monthly import bill, 2.3 trillion naira. For real. That data is from MBS, not an estimate from me. Now that translates into about $5.61 billion every month we spend on imports. So that means that the average Nigerian consumes mostly what is imported. So the question then is there a possibility for us to shift that narrative? And in fact, it reflects here in our conversation. We are not wearing suit and tie and shirt. Even though the fabric might not be manufactured in Nigeria, but somebody made it here. So added value. Okay? So in which case, our consumption needs to change. We must deliberately start to consume what is made in Nigeria. The government will lead that, which they actually did in a presidential order that was signed in 2017. Okay? That said 30% of federal government's expenditure, which connects to this budget we're talking about, to be committed to buy things that are made in Nigeria.
But, Dr. Dedekwe, how many things are made in Nigeria?
That's where I'm going to.
Mr. Yora
Okay,
said, our factories are all silent.
It's
like we're going around in circles.
I will share just, it's a story, reality.
In half a minute.
Yes.
We have to close now.
10 years ago, I sat briefly in the economic management team of President Jonathan, just for 3 months. One thing we started then, which I think is still an idea that Nigeria can begin again today. We told ourselves that let's do something about the automotive sector. So we now interrogated different existing players in that sector. But this is important for Nigeria. When we had an interaction with Innocence, the first question he asked us is, did you come to see me because you learned that the Ghanaian government's delegation came to me 2 weeks ago to persuade me to relocate my factory to Ghana?
Ouch.
And we said no, that we thought one of the ways to resolve this unemployment issue and low productivity is to look at entities that are in that sector that we can now ask them, what do you need? So it goes beyond talking about ease of doing business. We need to interrogate them and engage them. That's what the Ghanaian government did. So we have to now come up with recommendations that will keep Innocence here, rather than us losing him to Ghana. 10 years ago, the same thing can be done today. And that will change the narrative.
I could go on and on that, but you know, it's your.
It's a pity we haven't really scratched the surface yet, but we don't have enough time. I just have to thank Dr. Biodun Adedikwe, who is a management and financial consultant, who was with us in the studio, as well as Mr. Charles Iore, who joined us virtually. He is the principal partner, Dion and Associates, Kent. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, Mr. Iore. Sunrise will return in just a moment, and we hope that we'll have enough time to dig into that subject.
Driving everything.
Well. I think this is one matter we have to hand over to God. What?
Hand it over to God, but God isn't going to come down and help you solve your problem.
When we hand it over to God, it's like you hand over a matter to the MD of a company, or, for instance, the Director General of Standard Organization of Nigeria.
And he will delegate it.
And he will delegate
Nothing
it.
in history where God came down and said,
Well, that's his voice you're listening to, Malam Farouk Salim. He's Director General of the Standard Organization of Nigeria. Thanks for joining us this morning.
it's a pleasure.
Well, he's here to talk to us about how the commencement of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement might expose Nigeria to influx of substandard products. And
as if we're not already a dumping ground.
Well, we're already exposed, but the AFTA kind of legislates it. How did it, first of all, when this whole thing came to you, did you see it as an addition to all the challenges you were having before, or?
Yes, in a way, but at the same time, it's a challenge for us to grow. Because AFTA actually will not bring substandard goods into the country, because most African countries exporting will not export substandard goods.
Officially or unofficially?
Both. Bottom line is our biggest issue. Honestly, our biggest issue is ourselves. Our industry. You raised issues about industries collapsing.
Yeah.
Actually, you did. They were collapsing because there were so many substandard goods in the market sneaking in. For example, in a country of 200 million, there's not a single tire producing factory. Dunlop, Michelin have already left the shows. They went to Ghana. So, because they had to compete against substandard, smuggled, cheap tires. And the bad thing is, some of the tires are even used tires, which is illegal. And the new tires they even bring, instead of them to put 5 containers of tires, they will take 1 container and stuff 5 tires inside 1 tire. So no matter how brand new it is, by the time you remove those tires from each other, the wires and the integrity is gone. So now the tires look new. You go and buy a brand new tire in the market, and then you take your family on your way for Christmas to the village. Tire bursts because there's heat, there's too much pressure. Because even the vulcanizer trying to put air in your tire, you just push it. He doesn't have standards in his hands. So instead of 32 PSI, he's put 42. The sun hits the tire, and then at the same time, you're going at a faster speed, which is below the standard, and then everybody dies. So essentially, substandard goods, really, honestly, if you look at everything, they are the bane of our insecurity, because all our factories are folding, not because our people are not smart enough to produce, not because we don't have intelligent people who we can employ, not because there is no market. We have the biggest market, really, in Africa. We export all the way to West Africa, to North Africa. You've seen Nigerian goods in Mali, in Libya, and all those places. The problem we are having is that the market is so porous, our enforcement is so bad, there are no consequences. So because there are no consequences, somebody can take $50,000, go overseas, buy a substandard good, and then bring it and threaten a $100 million factory. So these factories cannot sell in the market, so they will not employ, they will not pay taxes, and then the dignity of the population is getting lower. Because
it's a lot of things that you have, but let's begin from here, Madam. Just what does the Standards Organization of Nigeria do? For those who will be wondering, maybe they have even needed your services without knowing it.
Exactly. Well, the Act 2015, essentially, we have like 4 branches. We set standards, and when we say we set standards is we can come to you, the media, and meet you as stakeholders, and then we discuss a certain part of the media, and then we meet, we agree the standards should be so based on international requirements. So that's standard setting. And then the other thing is we do programs like training in management systems. We can come to you and train your people in quality control or in occupational health or safety. That's another part. We have the metrology aspect of our industry where we actually can go to a big factory with our calibration trucks and calibrate their bridges so that when you buy your 50 kg rice, the factory sends you exactly 50 kg. Or if your lorry is driving to another state, they can drive on those wedge bridges. So when we calibrate those wedge bridges, if it's a 30-ton truck, it will not be beyond 30 ton. So that's metrology aspect of it. And then we have the import, the conformity assessment product where it's not illegal to import, but the problem is we need to have certification that the product you're bringing into the country is certified, is up to standard in the country it's coming from. That's our SUNCAP. Or the products produced in Nigeria, we go to the facilities, we inspect it, we look at the product, we test the products, because we have one of the largest labs in the country, or even in West Africa, right here in Oba. So we test the product, and then we give you a man-cap certificate saying your Nigerian product is up to standard. Now, you can move it to Niger or any other place with that certificate. So there are so many facilities. Then we have the enforcement part, where we are supposed by law to be at the ports. Because, believe it or not, if you take customs, they inspect everything that comes to Nigeria. And then you take NAFDAC and so on and put on one side. Then we check the standards of everything that comes into Nigeria. Mm-hmm. But in this situation, we are kind of stymied in our own ability to do our jobs because, 10 years ago, we were part of the people taken out because of ease of doing business. Mm-hmm. So now we don't have that ability to do that requirement of the Act of inspecting qualities.
And what's been the consequence?
You're a good witness to it. You and I, we have factories closing. Just last year, 6 roof-making sheets factories closed, completely closed shop. Popular factories completely closed shop because they cannot compete against substandard goods. It's bad enough to go to a country where they have economy of scale and government support and buy their products and bring in. But it gets even worse where you go to the same country, now you tell them to produce substandard goods. Yes. Instead of 0.15 millimeter, produce 0.1 millimeter. Yes. So then they come in, and then you have individuals here who are paying local government taxes, state taxes, federal taxes, their employees are paying taxes. And then with all that, they're paying money for the infrastructure they produce in the building, like electricity and everything. Yeah. And then you want them to compete with somebody coming from a country where they are totally subsidized.
So essentially, you're saying it's not really easy to do business yet.
Well, the issue is, I think we're backing up the wrong tree. We generally, this is the issue, and I don't know if I have so much time to explain, but we have these issues where we go to a country, say for example, I live in the US for 31 years, I'll just come here and I say, we are going to copy like America. But the problem is, we cannot copy like America. America, they have scanners to check what is in the container, but they're not checking the standards because their system is set in such a way that if you break the standards, the consequences on you. Somebody can sue you for a baby doll that you bought and the daughter swallowed it. In Nigeria, the first question you hear is, where are the parents when they swallowed the baby doll? Instead of saying the baby doll shouldn't have been manufactured.
There are so many questions that I would love to ask you.
Let me take you back to where you started after that African countries will not export substandard goods to each other.
Yes.
Now, are there agreements to that effect? Because you are saying that with so much confidence.
Well, the reason why I say that with confidence is African countries have standard organizations in them. You go to Ghana, you go to Rwanda, you go to Kenya, Tanzania. They are very much not only supported, but they are doing their jobs. So there is no way an average product that was manufactured with the stamp of Ghana standards or Kenya standards will come in here and be substandard. So the issue is, in our own situation, is things are coming in without us verifying the standards and stamping it. For example, the best cable in the market right now is Nigerian-made cable. They are best. They are very good. If you are building your house now, your contractor will say, "Oga, buy made in Nigeria," because they are up to standard. They are good. They have our stamp on it. We supervise their factory. We supervise their productivity. So whatever is being exported with our stamp will be up to standard.
Okay, so do all exports going out of Nigeria to other African countries have your SON stamp?
No, they don't. But the point is, you see, that's where the issue of business comes. If you are a small country, the best way to block Nigerian influx into your country is to demand standards. Instead of fighting with the WTO about ease of doing business and blocking people, what's called trade protection. Instead of doing trade protection, what you do is you do standards protection. So basically, you can say, okay, these goods coming in, they don't have Nigerian standards on it. Because what we are trying to work in ARSO now, which is the Association of Standard Organizations of Africa, we are trying to have this mutual recognition agreement where they recognize our standards, we recognize their standards. So we are getting there. Actually, we have some meetings we are going to do in the next 1 or 2 months to have, iron out those legalese. But the issue is, we we are not in a situation where we can guarantee every product that goes out of the country, because we are either not allowed to do it, or the individuals are not aware.
And that's a
that
challenge.
We're supposed to do.
That's a challenge, man. Because I remember not too long ago, maybe about a month or two ago, the NAFDAC raised the alarm, you remember, when they said that Nigerian products were being returned to Nigeria because the standards or the quality wasn't good enough.
Well, the thing is, that could be possible, but that means the individual exporting did not come to us.
That's the point.
To get it verified, or certified.
But they still went through our ports.
Well, you know, in a free society, the government cannot regulate what goes out of the country as long as it's not illegal. But it's your responsibility as a businessman to make your inquiries. If you are shipping yams, for example, to London, what you have to do is find out what the requirement for London is. What is it they needed? Then what can you do to meet that standard?
Okay.
Instead of your average, I want to make quick money, buy 5 million naira yam, ship it to London, I'll get $1 and come back. That's the problem.
Okay. Now, you've also talked about, referenced other countries, and you're looking at this partnership, and you said you've gone quite far with this. And that's, you know, counterparts agreement, you know, of standards organizations all over Africa. Would you say that your organization, SON, is at par with other nations in terms of infrastructure to get that done?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We have a lot of issues with infrastructure. We have 42 offices in the country, and unfortunately, these offices are either poorly, you know, staff, not just the staffing, the infrastructure is not there. I'll give you a simple example. When I first came here, 2 or 3 offices in Nigeria don't even have a vehicle to go and do inspection. Because our budget system allows, we don't have enough money. We use some of the charges we make to buy the things we need. So in a budget cycle, I'm only able to buy 4 Hilux vehicles or 4 buses to take my people for factory inspection, because the money is not there, or the policy will not allow you to buy too many vehicles, because the original policy was supposed to be against civil servants using money, government money, to buy vehicles for their use, while our activity requires vehicles. You can't send somebody to Ikorodu or to Ota to go and do factory inspection in his own motorcycle.
And you can't do it virtually.
You can't do it virtually either. Well, you can try and do it virtually in the future, but the bottom line is, at this stage so we don't have enough infrastructure. We are lucky recently that some of the state governors I visited, about 15 of them, actually, right while I was still there, gave us land to build. Now, but the key is now we need to have the money to build that. And so the budget is not enough. The government doesn't have enough money to give us. Actually, they take money from us. Oh. So what we are saying is we are in a situation where we're a security organization. People don't understand that the standards are set to protect our people's life and to protect our people's factories. So we should actually be getting money from the government and the industry. Because the thing is, even the industry is not doing a corporate responsibility with us. We're not asking them to give me money to fly me to US in first class or something. What we are saying is, get together as an association, come to us, buy lab equipment, or buy operational vehicles for us, or sponsor a building. Give us free blocks or free cement to build.
Essentially,
so you're saying,
we just have about 8 minutes or thereabout before this program is over. But essentially, you're saying that we're not prepared for after, in terms of testing and certification of made in Nigerian products.
Well,
right?
testing we are, because our lab in Oba has about 45 accredited labs, which is like the best labs you can have in West Africa. It's a whole complex, and we can test almost everything under the sun. But the other part that we are not prepared is the fact that our enforcement and our consequences, you know, you build a building with a substandard iron and steel. Your building collapses, 100 people die. Nobody prosecutes the contractor, the person who approves the building, the person who builds the building, the person who pays for the building. We just say it's an act of God and we move on. We have to have a paradigm shift. Both our attitude as Nigerians has to change. Our attitude as, we as members of the government, we have to change.
So who should be championing this enforcement?
We all are. For example, you go and buy a cell phone in the market. It says it's iPhone. You shell out $500,000 naira. You came back home, you discover the phone is not working, or
It's high phone.
So-
Not I.
But the problem is, what you will do is you just scream and be angry about it, maybe give it to your house help, and then move on. You're not going to seek redress from there. We have avenues in our organization where in every office we have in the country, which we are everywhere, you can come over there and say, okay, this is my receipt, this is the product I buy, it's substandard, I'm angry,
Please
what
take
can
us
you
through,
do for us?
take us through this process, because,
Yes.
I mean, just as you said, many people don't test the laws, they don't test the systems. So take us through the system.
So
You want to challenge, a particular
So you see
thing.
the responsibility and the cultural issue. iPhone is too expensive. I'll give you a simple, you will send your help to go and buy you bulbs for your house. You plug 3 of them, they blew up. What do? You put them in the trash, curse the person who bought it and say, look for the original. Instead of you to take that bulb with a receipt, even if it costs only 10 naira, take your time, go over there and say, okay, oh boy, this thing you sold my brother, it's not good. Pay me back. Give me back some money. The man says, I will not. He says, I will report you. You say, go ahead. Then you go to our office, or you call us, or you send us an email. We are on the website. Even my email is available on the website.
What's the website, sir?
Let me do your own, because I think you're trying to trick me now.
I'm waiting to write.
And I was told to put 3 W's to www and W
www.
and dot, and then SON
dot
NG.
NG.
I mean GU, GOU, GOV. You see, you channels are very tricky people. So it's www.songov.ng.
.ng.
So
www.son.gov.ng.
Okay. Yes.
So
you will
people
see
can
my
go
picture
there.
there, you see my email, so you can actually upload the receipt and say, oh, guy, look at this thing, this is my problem. And then I'll give it to somebody who will go. We have enforcement divisions, we have inspectorates, and we have all these intelligence units. They can actually go and find out who sold it, where they get it from, and who brought it into the country. And that way we can actually go to the source. And then we get to the source, we find out who passed that person, how does he get it, does he have a SONCAP certificate, does he have these things? Then we take him to court if he's not cooperating. But the issue is we have situations where people know they are wrong, they will say, oh, God, just carry and go. And then you carry it and destroy it for them.
But Malam, what you've described now seems to me to be a long road, because Nigerians are getting hit in the pocket every day. So if they see anything cheap, they're going to want to go for the cheap one.
Yes.
And not go for the one that is the good one.
Yes.
So if we start thinking about reporting everything that we see, is Nigeria ever going to catch up with the rest of the world when it comes to standards?
But that's how I know you have a bad product. That's the problem. You see, the issue is we as Nigerians, by our nature, we want to have nirvana today. You go to other countries, people struggle, work hard to do these things. These are not acceptable. You remember the story of that lady who spilled a coffee and she didn't just went and change her dress and tell her husband to give her Gentian Valley and rub it there. She went and sued the company. The company was charged $65 million. So it's painful. For every mundane thing that happens to you, you have to have a way. So when this happens, if you don't want to go there, just go online and do it.
Essentially, you're saying that we all have a responsibility to ensure this. The website again, son.gov.ng. I've opened it, and I think you may need to talk to your webmasters to maybe put an icon or something that if you want to report anything. I've seen a place here on the website where people can, that's the website right there, where people can make inquiries. That's the one in the green tab.
Hallelujah, I've got the right website.
But if people need to report anything, I can't really find that one. Then I want to believe that your webmasters will get that as well.
What we are doing is we have a new directorate for IT right now, and we are going to jazz it up. This is going to be much better in the next 6 to 4 months. Because we need, it's the heart of the organization.
I've also seen that the addresses of all SON offices all over the nation is on the website as well, so people can make all of these inquiries. Just one quick one before we allow you to go. How do micro, small, and medium businesses? I'm a champion of MSMEs. How do they actually benefit from your standards development?
Well, I actually listened to you earlier in the earlier segment. We're actually doing a lot of MOUs with the state governments because basically we have the resources to help you standardize your product. Like if you're doing something as simple as kilishi, this is how you do it neatly, this is how it's clean. Then we help you package it. We show you how to package it. And then
how to label.
And then you label it. And then you standardize everything. So that way you get our mark and everything by the time you work with us. So we do the same thing. We even have them do management because we have management certification system. Even at that level, most of our people have the talent, but they may not have the ability either to market or to go to the bank and get money or something. So we have a lot of MOUs with state governments in the country, and we are doing it as much as we can with other governments to make sure that we help directly. Because like you said, 40 million of these industries are the backbone of the country. Anywhere else in the world, small-scale industries are the ones that employ more people. So we are working very hard on that. It's just that, you know, the facilities and the resources are very
let me ask you a quick one, and I'd like you to answer in 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
There's a huge trust deficit between the people and anything government, including Standards Organization of Nigeria. Is there any plan, any program of SON to encourage
Not anymore. I think our problem, since we started last year, we reached out to the market associations, which are very powerful in this country, tell them this is what we do, this is how we can help you. We reach out to individuals and even the manufacturers like MAN. We reach out to them, we sit down with them, we're trying to jazz up our relationship with all of them. Because like I said, we are here to protect the industry, protect the real importer, and protect our people.
Okay.
So it's very important for people to know that.
You also said that you plan to repatriate substandard products back to the country of origin.
Wishful thinking on my part. That is something I wish I can do. If you bring something back, we'll send it back to your country. We sue the person who made it, and the government looks here. But this is an issue that has involved our president, the president of the other country, the foreign ministers, the legal departments, where they can agree as MOU that this is what can happen.
But there's a country that has done.
At my level, I can just dream.
But there's a country, some people have done it, they've repatriated our goods. We should be able to do the same.
Yeah, like I said, we need to involve their foreign ministry, our ambassadors, our president. So I'm working on that. Hopefully, with my credibility increasing, talking to individuals like you, the president might call me and say, okay, Farouk, how can we do this?
Okay.
And that's the whole idea.
Well, we can only wish you well.
Thank you.
And so don't stop dreaming. One of these days it could happen.
And give me better time next time. 45 minutes is difficult for one of the most important organizations in the country.
I think maybe we should just do it a little more frequently.
Or Sunrise can just dedicate a whole weekend to standards, which is saving lives.
That won't be a bad idea. We are all up for the money. Just you are a money-making organization like we are.
We are the protection organization of this country.
Yes.
All the things you talk about politically, I am telling you, if we do certain things in standards, all this discussion will be over. Even political parties, we can standardize them.
Oh, wonderful. So,
there you go.
That's your next dream.
Yes.
There you go.
Malam Farouk Salim is Director General, Standard Organization of Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very
with us
much.
this
I
morning.
appreciate you.
Well, Sunrise continues after now with something equally hot. To stay with us.
Well, on a serious note,
Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Sunrise from Channels Television. The International Day of the Girl Child is celebrated globally every 11th day of October. That's on Monday, of course. And the day focuses attention on the unique challenges girls face and also promotes girls' empowerment and the fulfillment of their human rights. We have joining us from Abuja, the UNICEF representative in Nigeria, Mr. Peter Hawkins. Good morning, Mr. Hawkins.
Good morning to you both.
And also joining us from Abuja is Mrs. Ajanigo Abuka, Deputy Director, Gender, Federal Ministry of Education. Good morning.
Good morning, Alero and your colleague.
Thank you for joining
We're
us.
happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Now,
Thank you.
the theme for this year is Digital Generation, Our Generation. Mr. Hawkins, what does this theme mean, please?
Well, it's about access to the digital platform. It's access for young girls who are disproportionately taken out of the platform. They have fewer abilities to be able to access it, the means to access it. But I think most importantly, once they do access it, it gives them the upper hand in what they do. I mean, my own daughter is so much better at being able to look at the digital world and use it effectively than certainly I am. And so young girls and the girl child, so, it's one area where they can really jump over the divide and be able to benefit not only from the information, but also in the skills that they have to be able to offer.
Denied access? Mr. Hawkins, why have girls been denied access? Mr. Hawkins, can you hear me? Why have the girls been denied access?
The denial of access is an issue around poverty, it's an issue around prioritization, it's an issue around many different aspects. The girl child is always left to the last. And I think what a day like today highlights is that actually we need to bring them first and ensure that they are at the front of the queue. It's their right to be able to be a girl child, it's their right to have access to education, and it's their right to be able to have access to information, and from that to be able to aspire and thrive.
Mrs. Abuka, you are of the Federal Ministry of Education. Obviously, the girl child has had the short end of the stick for all kinds of reasons. But after Beijing and all that, we got the impression that things were beginning to improve for the girl child. So as regards education, is there any improvement in the number of girl children who have access to education nationwide?
Yes, there has been a lot of improvement. Like since the declaration of the Beijing conference, all the countries were encouraged to go establish gender branches in their countries, in the ministries, which has been done. There is hardly any ministry you go that there is no gender branch. And we have gone into educating girls from the gender branch, and with the collaboration from development partners, we have been working very hard on this, and there has been a lot of improvement, especially in the northern part of Nigeria, where girls are highly backward in education. UNICEF, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, and the Ministry of Education, from her own tight budget, has been working assiduously to ensure that the girl child are aware of themselves, their right to education, their parents are being sensitized, and all that. So there has been a lot of improvement, I must tell you.
Are there peculiarities concerning the girl child in Nigeria, irrespective of the specific regions where they came from, that are unique, that you think, you know, a little more intervention of government and other agencies may be necessary? Are there unique challenges peculiar to the girl child that you know from your experience as Deputy Director General in the Federal Ministry of Education that need urgent attention?
As we are all aware, safety of the girls in school is a very recent issue that has come to affect the girl child education. And then the Federal Ministry of Education has been working to see how we can achieve this safety for the girls in school. We all know about the abduction of girls from schools, the Chibok, Dapchi, and other cases of abduction of children. We have been working closely with the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs to bring up very formidable security arrangements to ensure that these issues come to the barest minimum. Like, as you know, education is on the concurrent list. Despite that, the Federal Ministry of Education and the State Ministry of Education will come together from time to time to discuss how to achieve this security in our schools. Like this year's theme for the NC is on security and safety of schools for the achievement of education agenda 2030 for education. So all the stakeholders in education from the federal level and the state level, we come up with memos so that we can come up with policies that will provide strategies to addressing these menace. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Abuka, how much have these abductions affected the willingness of the girl child to go to school? And how much has it affected their parents when it comes to sending them to school?
Very, very high. Because many parents are expressing their fear of allowing their children to continue to go to school, especially in the northeast, even these days in the northwest. With the celebration of the International Day of the Girl Child, we have taken our time with our collaborators, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, National Communication Commission, and some other stakeholders. We are celebrating the International Day of the Girl Child this year, working together, ensuring children to have digital access to digital literacy. Well, what I want to say here is that some of the girls that were invited to this camp and for the celebration at national level, yesterday we met at a breakfast meeting with the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs and the Honorable Minister of Education, where we had a kind of chat with the girls. The girls themselves were asked to express themselves of their feeling about the insecurity in schools. One of them from Zamfara got up and asked the Honorable Minister. It was so emotional and very touching that they are scared to continue to go to school. Their parents are scared to release them to continue to go to school. It was so touching, but we assured them we will not relent. Generally, the country is under siege by these insurgents. We are working out, just like I have said, the Federal Ministry of Education, development partners, the Ministry of Women Affairs, and other education stakeholders, working out very formidable security arrangement for the schools. There's a lot of fear, I must attest to this.
Mr. Hawkins, the fear and the challenges, clear and present, wherever these children are, is there. And will definitely be an inhibition, so to speak, first in their minds, and then in even getting to school to get education or anything. So it would seem like this theme, this year's theme, digital generation, our generation, is significant and could help in that regard. So how feasible, in your opinion, do you see that transition to the digital age for the girls that Mrs. Abuka just talked about?
No, it's a very, very interesting point, is how can learning be done at home, in the communities, in different ways. I was there yesterday with the young girls, and it was palpable. I mean, it is, the psychosocial impact it's having on girls, both directly affected and indirectly affected, is palpable. But the Ministry of Education, together with UNICEF, are developing what we call the Learning Passport. This is a content that will be put on a digital platform that allows girls, in this case, but any children, to be able to access learning through the digital platform. And then the next step is to ensure that young girls have that access to that information. And that's the challenge I think we're faced with now. As the previous speaker said, the insecurity of going to school, the insecurity of being at school is of a real issue. But it's also about the prioritization within the family. Do they send the girl to school or do they send the boy to school? And many times they would, if they have to make those choices, they'll send the boy to school. Once the girl is at school, can she transition from primary education to secondary education? Are there the facilities available to allow her to do that? Are the schools available? Are there women teachers to be able to ensure the environment in which they're learning is compatible with their own being? Are they allowed to aspire? And this is one of the things that came out yesterday, very much so for the girls. The ability to want to follow and to be led by people like the Minister of Women's Affairs. They're aspiring to be and use her to help their own future.
With you, Mr. Hawkins, apart from all this insecurity, you know, all over the land, the girl child also suffers, and by that I'm referring to increasing cases of rape and sex for grades when they get a bit older. All those things are going on. Are all these not going to discourage, one, parents from releasing their daughters to go to school, and two, the girls themselves from the dangers of being out there, in quotes?
Absolutely, and this is the problem. This is security or protection. I mean, they have a right to go to school and have that right to be fulfilled. And especially at times like this, where there have been lockdowns, schools are being closed, gender-based violence is on the increase, and that affects the young girls the most. Not only that, but also the consequences. So a teenage girl, pregnant girl, is not allowed to go to school, is not even allowed to take her exams. So there's a double whammy there, which must be overcome. So that you're 100% right. The protection of the girl has to be paramount. Harassment from being able to walk to school without any fear, the gender-based violence, the grades for sex, all of these sort of things has to be stamped out. Zero tolerance, and the girls protected 100% so they can complete their education unhindered.
Okay. Well, we've run completely out of time now, so I just wish you all a happy International Day of the Girl Child. Mr. Peter Hawkins, UNICEF representative in Nigeria, as well as Mrs. Ajanigo Abuka, Deputy Director, Gender, Federal Ministry of Education. Thank you very much for joining us to talk about the International Day of the Girl Child.
Thank you very much for having us.
Good. Sunrise will be right back with another interesting conversation. I think this is called Ijoya 4.0. See you.
Can we just play that Ijoya music? Ijoya.
Yes.
Ijoya.
Maybe it's...
Well, we have with us in the studio now Eniola Omoro Akintunde, who is the founder and chief executive director, Neola Cancer Center, and a non-governmental organization, to discuss the forthcoming awareness campaign on colorectal cancer. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
That word, we had to first of all look in the dictionary. Colorectal cancer.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows cancer, but colorectal. I had to do a little bit of mathematics to understand what it meant. But tell us about it.
Oh, okay. From the human angle, I'm from, as a survivor, yes, I'm actually a survivor. Not directly a survivor, but as a caregiver to my late husband, I'm a survivor because I went through the trauma too. And prior to that time in 2012, I never heard about colorectal cancer, just like you. And most Nigerians too, the awareness is still very minimal.
Some are hearing it for the first time right now.
Yes. Yeah. Colorectal cancer is the cancer of the colon and the rectum. The colon is the large intestine. The Yoruba call it ifun. So it's the large intestine. Any tumor that starts from the colon is colon cancer. Then if start from the rectum, where we do our major is rectum cancer. So we merge it as an organization, Colorectal. Okay. So we merge it as an organization to form an organization, Colorectal Cancer. So we support both patients who has rectum cancer and colon cancer.
Okay. How serious is the issue in Nigeria?
It is very serious because this type of cancer, the good thing about colorectal cancer, if it is picked early, there is a cure. As I've said earlier, I'm going to speak from the human angle. We actually have a doctor, and we'll be here once we can still come back. Dr. Dedak Boshino, who is a co-founder in the NGO, is a consultant surgeon, a gastrointestinal. So I'm going to speak. I'm not going to speak as a medical doctor. I'm going to speak from the human angle.
Okay, from the human angle.
Oh, yes.
What does one look out for?
So the signs mimic, unfortunately, the signs mimic ulcer and pie. So you see some people, they treat ulcer, pie, and hemorrhoids for a long time. At the end of the day, it's colon cancer. And so if you're treating this, if you're treating some of these things, and some symptoms are sweating profusely, losing weight, unexplainable, you are not on any diet, and you are losing weight, you need to get this checked out. Stolen blood. Sometimes it might be visible, sometimes it's not visible. That is why we encourage people to go for FOBT test. Having gas in the stomach.
What is that?
FOBT test, fecal occult blood test.
Okay.
That's one of the tests to screen for colorectal cancer. So these same symptoms I've mentioned, you are losing weight, you're sweating profusely, you have gas in your stomach, it's not coming down, and you feel bloated, you are stooling non-stop, or you have narrowing stool. Most of us go to the toilet, we don't check our poo-poo. When we are done, we just rush off. No. These are the habits we must change. You must eat your poo-poo, look at it so that you can know if it's changing. If your poo-poo is changing color, maybe to kota or gray, you need to check it out. That means something is happening and it's consistent. It's not as if you eat vegetable. If you take vegetable, then we understand.
Oh, you took too much cocoa.
Oh, you took too much cocoa. What is cocoa?
It's black, so...
yes, but would that affect your stool? I don't think so.
Okay, I don't know why you're laughing.
These symptoms too also mimic other diseases. But that is why we ask Nigerians that if you're saying this thing and your doctor has been treating you for 6 months, 8 months, treating you for pile other, and there's no improvement, ask questions. Tell your doctor to please refer me to a gastrointestinal doctor or gastroenterologist. These are doctors, specializes to check your stomach, to know what exactly. They will know what to recommend and they will know what to do.
But you know, but generally, there's this general disinterest, let me not call it apathy, for going to do these checks because they can be quite costly. And at a time when people don't really, you know, people find it difficult eating.
Yeah, you are right.
Yeah.
And as an NGO, that is why we are reaching out to Nigerians and all over the world. There's nowhere health care is left in the hands of government alone. Else people will die, people will keep dying. We need individual organization like what Channels is doing now, giving me this platform to talk to Nigerians, individual corporate organization to key into and support health care, including cancer awareness, cancer control and management.
Okay. Your NGO is called Neola Cancer Care.
Yes,
so why is this thing called Ijoya 4.0?
Yes, thank you so much. Ijoya, we sat down as an NGO, and from research, from what we've been seeing, but because Nigeria is a very religious country and have some traditional beliefs when it comes to cancer, they don't want to listen. You see people, when you talk to them on cancer, they will tell you, go, don't bring it in, don't even discuss cancer care. It is not my portion, no, and they will notice that Nigeria enjoy party, they enjoy life. They don't want to hear about cancer. All those things. So we sat down. How do we get their attention? So we said, okay, when we incorporate what they love into it, when we bring it down to what they understand, why we bring in dance, exercise, ijotiya, let them come and dance. Remember, also, dance is also good for your health. I'm sure you'll be sitting there for a long time now. For how long have you been sitting there? You sat down, you stood up when I came in.
No, we always stand up.
You always stand up. You have to.
Cannot go and cause
so when you
war,
sit for a long time, you stand up. So exercise is very good. You come, while we are doing, so we sat down, we started Ijoya. Ijoya is come and dance. While you are dancing, we are doing exercise, we are screening and talking about cancer.
Does the exercise have any direct impact on relieving the pains or discomfort that could lead to colorectal cancer?
Yes. Well, from research, exercise is very good for the body. Exercise have been a preventive measure towards so many diseases, including colon cancer. That's why we talk to organizations now that when you visit the organization, you don't allow your staff to sit for a long time. Maybe after sitting for 1 hour, please let them stand up. Or you have to stand up. These are the things you need to know. These are the things you need to start. You start imbibing. You need to start doing it. So exercise, we can't underestimate the power of doing exercise. And so that is why we as an organization are looking for other way, preventive measure, because we can't keep raising millions, 50 million, 100 million. I knew how much we spent for my late husband, and eventually he died. So as an organization, we've realized exercise, food has a major role to play in cancer prevention and control in Nigeria.
Food being?
Food being organic food, Nigerian food. We should go back to our organic food. We have the best dates in the world. We have the best tiger nut in the world, which is the best milk for the body. And we have it. Our yam is very good. Our bitter leaf is now being exported to US. Capsule. So what are we waiting for?
Okay, let me. So
these are part of the things we are doing. We are showcasing in Ijoya, organic food.
Now, forgive me, but I'd like us to expand this to how vast this issue could be across the country. In the north, in the northeast, north central, northwest, and all of that. Many of these issues are there. They have their own peculiarities as well. Are there ways of drilling down this conversation to the east, to the south, to different parts of the country in order to be able to get this word out? Because if it is as significant a problem as you say it is, then everybody needs it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Makinde. 3 weeks ago, we were in New York, and we were on Inspiration FM New York, and New York was shocked. Most of them, I think majority, have not heard about colorectal cancer. Not until we mentioned it. And some of them that called in was like, they lost 1 or 2% to stomach pain. Some lost, they said this cancer, they never knew is what we're talking about, that they would like to have us in New York. we are really constrained as an NGO, and as I've said it earlier, that we can't leave the cancer control and management in the hands of government. We need support, we need people. Why not? We need to take it around. It's not only Nigeria. We are talking about a country that is over 100,000 diagnoses, 100,000 according to Global Can on cancer, and 70,000, over 70,000 deaths annually. And all attention globally has been shifted on COVID-19 to the detriment of other diseases, including cancer.
Okay.
So Ijoya is important. We call on everyone to please support us, organization. They should come in. We should do this together. We shouldn't continue to wait for government. We all have a role to play.
Okay. When is Ijoya?
Ijoya is this Saturday, next week Saturday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Dance, exercise, exhibition, and screening. We'll do colorectal cancer screening. So at Teslim Balogun.
Unfortunately, it can be done virtually.
Yes, we actually, last year we had to cancel because of the COVID-19 and NSAS protest then. So we couldn't. But this year, we might see how we can incorporate virtual for those who will not be able to come, but we will appreciate majority to come because, as we said, this food we are talking about, we have one of the organic farmer in this country who we are sure of what she's producing as a farmer, purely organic. She's coming to talk and she's going to showcase. So we should let our food be our medicine. Then early detection, early screening, accurate diagnosis saves lives. That's another topic for another day because there's so many misdiagnoses too.
You are also offering free colonoscopies.
Yes, we were supposed to offer free colonoscopy, but within you and I, we don't have sponsors. Yes, it's sad we don't have sponsors.
Okay.
Most of our sponsors turn us down last minute. So we will only do what we can do. But for the FOPT, we'll struggle as an NGO to see what we can do for the FOPT. We are still struggling, looking for funds right now. But we are not going to cancel Ijoya this year. Whatever it's going to take, we'll do it.
Okay. Just to be clear, so many people may be wondering, first of all, what's this colonoscopy and how much does it cost, really?
Yes. Colonoscopy is high. Is high. Honestly, it is high. It's not cheap. It's one of the screening for colon cancer, and it is very good because you can easily pick it. It's passing a camera through your anus to check your colon if there's a growth. And the first growth for colon cancer is a polyp. It's called a polyp. And the good thing with colonoscopy, if they see it and it's a polyp, they can remove it. Then they can send it for biopsies to check if it's benign or malignant. So when they remove it, then you are good. Then they can tell you about how to walk, what to do, your diet. The cost of colonoscopy is 100,000 and above in some hospitals in Nigeria. But in US too, it's equally expensive. It's about $2,000 or so in US. It's equally expensive. It's not cheap anywhere in the world to do a colonoscopy. But in
I paid twice that for mine.
Yes, it's expensive, over 2,000. It's not cheap. But we as an NGO, we have appealed to Nigerians, if we can get the machine for colonoscopy, why not? We'll be able to do it at a subsidized rate. Bola died, my late husband died at the age of 39. His cancer was discovered at 38. Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther, died at the age of 40 something, 42 or something thereabout. Yeah. And Chadwick Boseman cancer was discovered same stage with my late husband. My late husband was stage 3. But till the day my late husband was diagnosed, he never did anything meaningful with his life. He was bedridden all through. Whereas a country that understands healthcare, that the people understand what they're doing, the government knows what they're doing, the system is working. Chadwick Boseman was able to be a global brand and achieve his dream before he passed on. Can we please start looking at that in this country? Okay. Can we have sincere conversation? Can we all join this?
Just to be clear, I mean, just as you said, it's quite a lot of money. $4,000, Alero, man, it's quite some. I think I can do some good things with that one. Now, lifestyle...
But I'm sure that if people pay attention, like she said, take a look at their waste.
Yeah.
Yes. So that they can seek medical attention.
My issue
immediately.
The question that I even want to ask is because nobody wants to go there. Nobody, as much as possible, want to avoid getting to that stage of their life. So I'm just wondering if there is a lifestyle that people should maintain in order to avoid the kind of preventive lifestyle that can help people to not get to that bus stop.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Makinde. The lifestyle is, most of us are not even ready. And I'm also a work in progress. There are some things that is done in my kitchen. It's a personal decision. I threw away my microwave. I'm not using it. I'm not saying people should not. And there's some food I don't buy and I don't eat, like instant noodle. I'm not going to mention a popular and well-known company that produce instant noodles in this country, and they are every nooks and cranny. But the truth of the matter is that these things are killing us. Yes, they are killing us.
How did you find that out?
Yeah, from research. You can Google it. Some of these things, even all this country, developed country, are also leaving this food behind, and they are going into organic farming because they've discovered, let your food be your medicine. Food has a lot to do. Then NAFDAC, SONs, custom has a lot to do because our borders are porous, and they are turning our country to a dumping ground for food that is not, I think, influx of. Yes. So these are the things we must be sincere with ourselves. People are dying. Colorectal cancer is now tilting towards third cancer killing Nigerians. If you notice it, a lot of people are dying from it now. Not like before. Breast is number 1, cervical is second, prostate is third, but colon is going to third now. And mainly, colon is what we are eating. Is
there an age range that has a
before they said it's the disease of the old, it's a degenerative disease, but lo and below we are seeing it in 25 years old is dying from colon cancer now.
Wow.
Yes, we are seeing it in young adults. There's so many now. As I've said, still using my Gbolang as a case study, who was 38 years old when it was discovered, and he passed on the following year. And we have seen so many cases. Right now, we have cases of 38 years old who is down with colon cancer.
Essentially, you're saying it's something that comes as a result of what
eating
we eat.
red meat. You must control what you're eating. Red meat, sugar, drink a lot of water. Fruits, yes, you can eat fruits. But what do you have the business? Why are we importing fruits? There are some fruits you can import, but there are some that they produce in this country. So we should look inward with what we produce. Then what are they using to farm our produce?
Fertilizers.
It's a tough discussion that some people are not comfortable having it, and people like us having it. Of course, I know my NGO is suffering for it, but it's okay, we'll have it. We'll boldly say it out.
Okay, let's talk about funding the NGO, because we talked, when I talked about colonoscopies, you said you had no sponsors, so you had cancelled that part of the program. How is your NGO funded?
Thank you so much. That's a very interesting topic I would like to talk about. The NGO is funded from my personal fund. I'm a gemstone designer. I design jewelry. I work with jewelry, and I work with precious stones. Then I do them in metal, in 8 karat, in 18 karat gold. Sometimes Nigerians are fashionable women. Some even use diamond, and we do that for them. So from my jewelry business, I use it to fund the NGO. Then close friends. Like last year, we were lucky to get the sponsorship from Zenith Bank. They were able to come in. Ijoya 3.0. They supported us. Okay. And so the funding for Neola has mainly been from my Old Girls Association, Our Lady of Apostles Secondary School, Fountain of Life Church, and few close friends who knows and who can see the passion in me.
Interesting. So just one more time, tell us when and where this event is holding.
Oh, when and where this event is holding? Teslim Balogun Stadium.
Surulere.
Then let me mention 1 or 2 companies. First registrar last year, CIBN. They've also been supporting us. So I must, since I've mentioned Zenith Bank, also put that.
16th of October.
16th of October.
Teslim Balogun Stadium, 7 a.m.
till
to
3 p.m.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we
So
cannot,
people-
but we have to go.
We've run out of time. Okay.
You want to quickly?
You wanted to say something?
Yes, I wanted to say, so who are you expecting to come? Who are you inviting to this event?
It's open. It's a free event. The First Lady of Lagos State will be there. The First Lady of Ogun State, we are expecting them. Then some high-profile people who are coming. Then it's open to the general public.
Okay.
They can come for advice.
Yes,
for
will be there.
counseling.
Doctors will be there. They will be screening. There will be screening. There will be BP. They will do some things. There will be screening for FOBT. Though, because we are collecting poo-poo, so some people might not be able to do their poo-poo. No, we work with poo-poo. It's no big deal. We
Jesus.
collect it. Yes.
Can we just leave the rest to what's the date
So,
again?
16th
of October.
So, but
It doesn't sound very, very
so
appealing right
let
now.
me put this. So if you can't do your poo-poo on that day, you can put your name down. Then we'll do follow-up.
Better.
You can
Good.
come to
Let's
the
just
NGO
leave it at that. I
office.
don't want to hear that word again.
You have to hear it.
Niola Akitude is founder and chief executive director, Niola Cancer Care Foundation. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for staying with us this far. And now let's look at some issues in aviation. The House of Representatives Aviation Committee has ordered the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, to stop the issuance of Air Operators Certificate, AOC, to a particular airline, NG Eagle, after the airline had almost completed the process of being registered. So the NCAA is an independent body, as recommended by ICAO, and supposed to be apolitical. Okay, now the risk is that safety and security of the sector is being compromised due to political interference. Well, to look at that with us this morning, we have with us in the studio Mr. Olumide Onwayo, Head Research and Corporate Travel, Zenith Travel and Consult, and he's also the Assistant Secretary General of the Aviation Roundtable. Good morning, Mr. Onwayo.
Good morning, ma'am.
Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
What is all this about? What's wrong with issuing a license to a new carrier?
And I just need to correct what you said, that Nigerian is about completing the process. They have completed the process. Yes, what is left now is for the DG to sign the document and allow them to start operation.
Okay.
The document is right on the table of the DG NCA, and that is what we are waiting for. They've gone through the five processes of getting the AOC, which is we have gone through the demonstration. They've done the demonstration, the certifications that the level they are now, and for the DG to sign.
What is the problem?
Well, for me, I think the problem right now is has to do with what we've heard concerning the House of Rep asking the NCA to hold on to the certificate and not release it for operation.
Did the House give any particular reason for asking for this stay of action?
Yeah, they said the liabilities owed, that a union wrote a petition to them. That's what it said, that the union wrote a petition to them, asking them to stop the issuance of the AOC based on amount, money owed to the federal agencies within the industry.
Maybe, is there a background that people don't know about the NG?
Thank you.
Well, this is the background. NG is owned by AMCON. Let's take it this way. AMCON possessed Arik Air 2017 to save depositors' funds. And at that time, Arik had issues, so they had to step in. Their operations were already going aground. They could not operate again, so they had to step in 2017 and took over Arik and Aero. And with Virgin Atlantic, also the third airline under the stable of AMCON. Now, they took these assets and now leased back these assets to Arik to start operation. And they've been operating from then till now. Now, during this period now, they've virtually paid NCA about 6 billion naira from services operated, fund 6 billion. NCA 5 billion, and NAMA 1.8 billion. So they stepped in kept the airline so that they could save staff and workers of the airline. And that's what they did. Now they have come back to say, okay, they are repossessing the asset in a new name, starting with the new name, which is now the NG Eagles. The 3 aircraft are on ground for the past 8 months, going through this process of certification, and they've gotten to the last stage where they're supposed to sign now. And we're hearing this resolution from the House of Rep to the NCA. And like you said, that is not right.
Is that legal?
Sorry, I'm a bit confused. So AMCON took over ARIC and Aero, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Virgin Nigeria before then.
Okay. So is it those two who are now metamorphosing into NG Eagle?
No, just ARIC. Just ARIC.
So NG Eagle is former ARIC?
Oh, former ARIC, yes.
Yeah, but ARIC is still flying.
ARIC is still flying, yeah. But they have not said ARIC is now NG Eagles. But because assets being used are from ARIC, which is supposed to be the mother, people are equating that it's the ARIC that's NG. There are two different bodies. NG is a new airline from AMCON.
Okay.
But ARIC is still going to be operating.
Well, that's for AMCON to tell us if ARIC will still be operating or not.
Okay.
But now, you mentioned 3 aircraft.
3 aircraft, yes.
That's for NG Eagle.
For NG Eagle,
because
yes.
ARIC has a lot of aircraft.
Yes, maybe in the past.
Or maybe in the past. Okay.
In the past.
Okay. All right then.
One of the concerns on my own mind. So, from all that you have said, the position of the House of Representatives and everything, what for you is the issue? How significant is the issue being raised by the House of Reps?
You see, for me, I think when it comes to the issue of safety and the issues of the AOC, it's a safety issue, and there's no interference is the game and is the rule. And that we should not see the House of Representatives coming in to stop a regulator who's supposed to be independent from issuing the AOC to NG Eagles. And the position is, why is the House of Rep coming in at this stage? It has taken a process for some years now. They've gone through the process of application stage, documentation, inspection, demonstration, certification, and now when they are ready, and you just for them to sign, and a petition from a union, not even from the unions, one of the union petition, and you're asking them what they've just, rather than ask them to stop the AOC, what they have done was to pass a resolution in the House mandating NCA to get all monies owed agencies from all airlines, ARIC inclusive, but not to stop the issues of AOC. That is not within their brief.
My concern is because, I mean, you know as well as I do that the House of Representatives has an oversight on, very many, all the agencies of government. So if the House of Representatives picks an issue, do you think it's out of place to give them at least the benefit of the doubt? Especially because, just as you said, it came from a petition of a major stakeholder in the airline industry, which is one of the unions.
Yes. Like I said, that what they could have done was to pass a resolution to the NCA, requiring NCA to get to recover all government funds owed by airlines and ARIC.
So you think there is more to it?
That's a resolution to NCA to recover all funds, but you cannot ask NCA to stop the possession of AOC. It's a different process entirely. It's based on safety. It's a safety issue. And it's not allowed, it's not accepted by the international community.
What's the far-reaching implication of that?
Well, what I see here is if NCA buckles to this process from the House of Rep, well, first and foremost, they have joined in violating the rights of Nigerian Eagle. The international community is watching, and ICAO. We remember in the past we had problems with safety. We have gone so well now. We are now a Category 1 country. We have met all the ICAO rules and regulations, safety requirements, and we've been able over the years to retain and even sustain it. Now, if it is proving that there's interference in the running of the regulator, then probably we'll begin to get sanctions. We might be downgraded. We might, I pray not. We might be downgraded, and we might have sanctions from ICAO.
Once again, what is the connection between ARIC Air and NG Eagle?
Well, they are all companies under AMCON. Let's put it that way.
So,
Because
NGO
this
the
all
company-
seems to have everything to do with ARIC. Am I correct?
Well, yes, the resolution of the House was based on ARIC.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so they're both companies owned by AMCON.
Yes. One
But
of
they're
the
two
companies,
different companies.
Two companies, yes, owned by AMCON. I remember AMCON belonged to the government.
Well, I'm trying to wrap my head around this, and I'm not, things are not adding up for me. Things are not adding up at all.
Maybe the House of Rep member.
so
How is ICAO likely to react to all of this?
Well, I think everybody's waiting for the NCA. Want to see what they want to do and the position they're going to take. But I think the most appropriate position for them is to sign that AOC and release it to the Nigerian Eagle for them to operate. We cannot stop a process that's concluded and coming from the regulator, which is more has to do more with safety, and have somebody interfering, political interference from outside, stopping the safety process, which is not allowed.
how significant is the impact on safety for the industry?
Well, what you see now is that if this is allowed, then somebody can get up tomorrow and who has not met with the safety compliance and checklist of the industry, run to the House of Rep, and the House of Rep will tell the AOC, the NCA to issue that airline, and AOC. Yeah. That's the implication.
Yeah.
Somebody and LM have an issue with respect to safety tomorrow, and the NCA grants that airline, and the House of Rep will pass a resolution asking them not to grant the airline. And that's why we say anything that has to do with safety, do not interfere. Let the regulator, who takes the responsibility, who have been doing well, who has kept us, who has taken us away from the dark days, let them remain and continue to do what they do best.
Now, you've already referenced, issues, how this might affect our ranking internationally. But in talking about, maybe you may want to, expatiate a little further on that. Talking about the general perception of Nigeria's airline industry, how far-reaching is the international repercussion, not just with ICAO?
Well, see, exactly. Now you said the perception. Now it goes down to the business part of it. It goes down to the insurance companies. Now, when they see such things happen, they see that your regulator is not independent, that your policies are being can be changed by just a resolution from maybe 5-10 people, then the cost of insurance goes up because you cannot be relied upon. Then how do you expect an investor to walk into a place whereby tomorrow a policy can be changed in the middle of the field? Now, if it was a foreign investor, now these are Nigerians, if it was a foreign investor who has complied and met it with the whole process and it's just always waiting for the certificate, after which this process is not a year, it can take about 2 years, with a lot of money and resources, then you now come and last minute and says, the resolution says you should not start. How would the investor feel? Do you think the investor will not go back and tell other people and you get some investors? And what we lack most in that industry today is investors. We are looking for investors outside the country, but it's a high cost industry.
Do you think the House of Representatives has the full picture?
Well, I doubt. I doubt if they have full picture. I was at that sitting. It was last week. It was on Wednesday, and what we went for there was for the ground handling companies. Again, the NCA approved a rate for the ground handling company. The same committee stopped that process and called for a public hearing. We were seated. For this time around, the ground handlers were around, the other airlines, airline operators were there, the foreign airlines, everybody was seated. And look at the agenda. It started from prayer, the chairman's speech. After the chairman's speech, we were waiting for each player to make their presentation. And but before we get into adjournment, and the next thing, the chairman said that they have agreed to adjourn. Members say aye, and he adjourned. Without discussing the issue of the day. Then the next day, they wanted to see the DGNCA and MD Farm, who were seated. And we were waiting as I thinking we're going to come back in for discussion. And going back to that, thinking we're going to go back in, let me finish this one. Thinking we're going to come back. Then we didn't come back in. Then the next thing was the press release after that night saying that asking the NCA to stop the issuance of AOC to NG Eagle. which was not part of the agenda for the day. It was not there.
Well,
I have the agenda here.
How has AMCON reacted to this?
Well, I don't know. I think AMCON can speak for themselves. I cannot say for now. But I've not seen or read anything from AMCON at this moment.
So how then do you expect ICAO to react to this?
Well, we see it's not yet a bad case.
Okay.
Or it's not yet a bad case really. But what we just expect.
It can still be salvaged.
Yes, it can still be salvaged. What we just expect the DGNCA to do is, this is a company, a new company that has 3 aircrafts on ground, that has the potential of generating employment, income for the industry over the years, and also help in reducing fares and increasing frequencies across the board. So, I can't for now. We'll probably just be waiting and watching and see how it pans out. But I just hope the DGNCA will not violate the rights of the Nigerian Negroes. So,
what do you expect the NCAA to do now, being that that
document on the table of the DGNCA should please append this signature,
irrespective of what the position of the House of Representatives is?
Because they can pass, like I said, they should pass a resolution to the NCAA asking them to recoup all funds owed by airlines, and not one airline, owed by airlines. Okay, Alex is not the only one owing.
So do you see, but you know that, I mean, the issue of ARIC has been quite popular in recent times. But do you see a litigation coming if things don't pan out quickly?
The litigation we've been expecting should be between the owners of ARIC Airlines and AMCON. Because there's always been that problem how it was collected from them, that they were not owing all the amounts, the figure accrued and being published and bandied around. So that was the legal implication with the legal thing we were waiting for, not debt owed to the agencies. If the debt was affecting NCA, if NGO was owing them, they would not have allowed them go through the process, pass through it, and only ready for it to be signed. So I think it's beyond the debt, and I think what we're looking at is looking at executive interference now this time around. I think what is happening is probably to stop NG. If you stop NG, maybe the national carrier can come up.
I don't understand. Help me understand.
Sorry?
Maybe that is the riddle you've been trying to look for.
Well, we know that the logo for the national carrier was launched and everything, but we don't see anything happening regarding a national carrier.
Well,
except you have privileged information.
It's still on board. It's still on board. It's still in Hogan.
Are there any aircraft on ground that look like they're going to be the national carrier?
Not yet. But still, we are promised that by the first quarter of 2022.
It sounds to me like there's well,
there's more to this than meets the eye.
Yeah, because it sounds to me there is a lot of.
And remember, AMCON is owned by government, so you can see maybe what I'm looking at is the 2 government arms now.
Okay, let's quickly take
using NCA.
Yeah, Mr. Gbenga Olowo is also joined us now. I think you already mentioned his name the other time. President Aviation Safety Roundtable Initiative and CEO of Sabre Nigeria. Thanks for joining us this morning, Mr. Gbenga Olowo. Can you hear me? Please speak up if you can, or mute your mic.
I think I did already.
Okay, all right. You're welcome to the conversation. I mean, you've been listening, so you want to give us some opening, because while Mr. Wayo has been, doing all of the work, we're still trying to wrap our heads around,
I'm still a bit confused.
Yeah, because the only thing people want to do is to fly safely. What's going on?
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. You see, I don't know why all issues in this country always becomes an emergency, because we don't plan well. And we don't plan well, we are then planning accidents. So it is better to plan very well before we do anything at all. The issue we're discussing right now my take is that as much as I appreciate the concern of our Congress in trying to come into this matter, I would think that it is not necessary now, because primary oversight function on any country's CAA, any country at all, CAA, the primary oversight responsibility lies in the CAA. Therefore, no matter what political statement, no matter what issues that are ongoing, must not prejudice NCAA from doing its rightful job. I want to get an AOC to fly an airline. Are there international set-down procedures to do it? Yes. Am I meeting those criteria? Yes. If that is the case, I must not be unduly hindered from getting my AOC. And we have a competent CAA that has been investigated again and again by ICAO, that they know what they are doing. So I think asking them not to issue AOC to anybody at all by Congress is an interloper. When the AOC is issued and there are other issues that the Congress has to intervene, then the oversight function may come. But for now, undue political interference in civil aviation activity, it's not the best for this country.
Mr. Olowo, how can you be sure that it is political interference? The House of Representatives will tell you, we're just doing our job. We got, and we have oversight functions to perform, and we got some people who sent in a protest of sorts. So how can you be sure it's a political interference? Okay, I guess the network has, maybe he got a call or something, and then the network froze on him. But Mr. Umayo, I guess we're coming close to that time where we can call it a morning. But going forward, what are the recommendations you would want to make to AMCON, who is the owner of this NGO, to NCAA, who is the regulator, and to the House of Representatives?
Basically, for the House of Rep, I think there's a time to look inwards and look at the things, some of the things they have been doing within that committee. They are going beyond their brief. You cannot ask the regulator to stop the issues of AOC. Either can you ask the regulator to issue an AOC to any organization. It's not within their brief. Also, they should try as much as possible to limit those themselves to things that are within their purview and within their power. I thought that if there was an issue like this, they would have first called for a public hearing, ask people out. If they have done even what you have done today, they would not have issued that order. And I think that order was issued in error. And if we continue to progress in error, then we might harm the industry and put the NCA in a bad light.
What do you expect AMCON to do?
Well, AMCON is an agency of the government, and I'm sure they know they're fighting the government, a colleague in power, and they are also seen as a competitor. So let me just leave it at that. AMCON knows how to deal with the problem.
And NCAA?
And for NCAA, the rule is sacrosanct. You've done well with the safety. Do your job and don't be afraid.
Do you surmise that there's an ulterior motive somewhere on the part of the House of Reps?
Please.
As they say in law, that's a leading question. Okay. All right then.
We have to let him go now. So.
All right then, Mr. Umayo. Thank you very much. Umayo, Head Research and Corporate Travel, Zenith Travel and Consult, and Assistant Secretary General, Aviation Safety Roundtable, who was with us in our studio in Lagos. And we had for a brief period only Mr. Gbenga Olowo, President, Aviation Safety Roundtable Initiative. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming to talk about this problem with us this morning. Sunrise will be right back in a moment with the home stretch. Do remain with us.
good woman no coming from the Lord. They know they see her for market you. A good woman is a blessing from above. Her type will not there for market.
When they say a good woman is from the Lord, they know they find them for market. How come they turn the talk say, man will marry good wife, he take her go market?
Take I go market. No, man will find good wife has found a good thing.
Yeah. When they say, babe, guy, your wife fine, oh, you carry her go market, oh.
No, you leave your eye at home and go to market. You are free to leave your eyes at home when you are going to the market. That's allowed.
This is you. That's it's you. Just go ahead. It's a women topic.
Mr.
So
Makonde, are you all right?
Yeah, I don't know really. I'm just trying to wrap my head up around that question. Good woman, carry her go market. Maybe two of our guests this morning might be able to help. We have ladies first, we say so. Mrs. Yabola Dipo is with us this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Michael Heger, right? Illegal. I hope you are not a lawyer.
No.
Because the judge will show you paper. Thank you for joining us here, as well as BJ Sachs. Thank you so much for being
Our
a part
own
of this.
BJ Sachs.
My people
always looking fresh. It must be fantastic playing the sax.
No, you will still explain why you are rising with the women this morning. We'll come to that. But let's begin with you, madam. Arise is a faith-based, non-governmental organization committed to celebrating nation building and the empowerment of women in this society. Please tell us exactly, maybe there are things that people don't know about Arise.
Okay. We've been around for a while now, so I believe a lot is known about us already. This is our 13th edition.
Okay.
But we're into healthcare, we're into education, we're into empowering of women, and we're into leadership. We're also into nation building, and in this regard, we've adopted villages, Dafara, Kabusa, outside Lagos mainly, and we've, in those villages, put in boreholes, built schools, computerized schools, built healthcare hospitals. In Lagos, we've done a lot of mobile clinics, medical care with clinics. And this year, as usual, we've been running our Walk for Life. And this year, we're particularly out with our Walk for Life. The theme for the Walk for Life this year is I Choose Life. Because we're particular about healthcare being preventative rather than curative. So this year, we want to go out and let our people come out onto the streets and walk. I believe it's the New Zealand health body that says that you gain two hours for every 1 hour, 2 hours of life for every 1 hour that you walk.
Whoa.
So we're encouraging people to walk this year, and as we have been doing for a while, and then the conference, the walk is on the 16th, and then the conference is on the 30th of October.
We'll talk more about the conference and the walk and all of the activities.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Iligar, what are some of the peculiarities that you would say, okay, Arise has had to encounter over time? I mean, the 13th episode.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having us again. It's always a pleasure to come back here. I want to speak on last year because the pandemic hit, and normally, from all the pictures, all the years we've been doing, especially the Walk for Life editions, we've had thousands of people gather at a particular location to walk, to exercise. It's normally a form where we kickstart. The Walk for Life is supposed to be the start of something new for everybody. So we walk on one day, and then in your own lives, you're supposed to continue that lifestyle. So last year, we were faced with the pandemic. Nobody prepared for the pandemic. Nobody expected it to happen the way it happened. And we realized that we couldn't gather the thousands, the tens of thousands that we normally have in one location because it's not safe. And so our leader came up with, she said, you know, why don't we just walk wherever we are? So instead of telling people to come into one location to walk, why don't we just walk where we are? So last year, we started walking in clusters. So what that meant was you can live in Lekki, you want to walk in Lekki, that's fine. You can live in Magodo, you want to walk in Magodo, that's fine. And even last year, the pandemic hit and it was terrible, but it expanded our reach into a global scene. I can't really explain it. We had people in England that wanted to walk, they wanted to exercise. So we sent them T-shirts, they joined our walk, they were in London, they were in the United States, Mauritius. Even this year, we have clusters open in the Philippines, in several nations, in Africa as well, in Guinea, in Sierra Leone. In Nigeria alone, we have clusters all around Lagos, in Port Harcourt, Akwa Ibom, several other locations. And it's something that we had to face, but at the same time, the message that Arise is trying to send, as she said it as well, is access and empowerment, is sharing that the need to stay healthy. So you don't have to come to a physical location to be a part of what we're trying to do. From wherever you are in the world, you can channel and join us in your exercise, whatever form you want to do, wherever you are. It's something that we had to face.
You know, we joked before you came in that if people had to do this online, how would it happen? They'll probably just
virtually.
they walk virtually and probably use just treadmill.
Now, Vijay, apart from the walk, there's also the conference. And I know that you are a big feature of the conference because I've seen you in action. So, since there's not going to be any huge gathering, as is normal, how is that going to look this year?
Okay, so the conference is going to be hybrid. Conference is happening on the 30th of October.
Okay.
Yes, so we're going to have people from all over the world join us online, and we're also going to have people on site.
Okay, but not large
not very
large
yes.
crowds.
So we have different venues.
Oh, different venues, okay.
In the same area, where would accommodate people that are going to come in live, while people join us all over the world online. So it's going to be live on different platforms, on all the streaming platforms.
So at which location will DJ Sax be?
Is it online?
On channels.
I'm live here on channels. Yeah. I'm live here on channels. Also, as we walk, there's going to be music from DJ Sax, of course, and so many other artists.
So we're walking and dancing at the same time.
Just to make it, very interesting.
Enjoy, yeah.
So we're walking and dancing, So it's going to be awesome.
What kind of impact feedback have you received, Mrs. Ladipo?
The feedback has been tremendous. We let me start from the walk. The walk, when we found that we couldn't centralize, we had first ladies walking in their state houses, in our face caps, in their clothes, and filming themselves and sending it back in. We had Kebbi, Kebbi First Lady. She walked in Abuja. Mrs. Sonwulu, Her Excellency, walked in Marina. We had them walking in their various locations and sending in there. And of course, the feedback from people, like we said, all over the world. Aside from that, the healthcare, we've had a lot of people joining us, offering free screening services, high blood pressure, the regular tests for basic good health coming in. We've had a lot of support in that area. We've had a lot of support in the area of well, I would like to say we've had a lot of support in the area of sponsorship. I was a bit reluctant there because we're always asking for more. We've had some support, but of course we'll be asking for more because it's such a massive work that we're trying to do. We're trying to ensure there's no poverty. We give out what we call the basket of hope. We call them they are pink baskets, and we give them out in local governments. We go around all the local governments in Lagos. Last year, before the walk, and because of the pandemic, normally when they come for the conference, we feed, but because we don't have such a huge gathering anywhere anymore, we go out before, during, and after the conference and give out pink buckets. And in these pink buckets, we've got rice, we've got sorghum or wheat, we've got all sorts of goodies in the bag. So we've had a lot of support of people giving us towards that giving. So we go around all the local governments. In one of the local governments in the north, we gave out 5,000 bags of rice. So we've done a lot. We've gotten a lot of feedback, people saying, well done. We can get much more help because, like we say, it's a global work. But in Nigeria, we're particularly interested in bringing the women out of poverty. We believe that once a woman is empowered, she'll feed her children, she'll feed her husband, she'll feed everybody around her.
So these are some of the things that you have achieved on the screen.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
You said once a woman is empowered, but surely these pink baskets or pink buckets or whatever, they're not only going to women, are they?
No, they're not only going to women, but funnily enough, we worked more with women because they are easier to handle. The one or two local governments that we went to that we had men, it was a battle. But we
there you go. Aya Makinde.
Okay, guys, I'm not going to speak for the men. There are two men there. So,
when they get the basket, they'll come home and feed you.
Exactly. No. I want to remain that breadwinner. I think I like that type. But, you know, speak to that end of the conversation. What do you make to be the reason for the pushback? Is it a function of communication?
Well, I mean, again, for me, when I think of RISE, I think of the same two words, which I said earlier, of access and empowerment. And the reason I think RISE has gotten to where it is now is it cuts across, I mean, every border I can think of. So even gender, even religion, even ethnic groups, you know, it's beyond that. Of course, you know, the group is called Arise Women, but Arise goes far beyond that to empower the home. So it focuses on empowering the women, but the women are the ones that hold the home. So the men as well are all invited. You know, that's why myself and BJ Sachs are here today.
So Mr. Elega, so it is now Arise family.
It's an Arise family. It's an Arise family completely.
Arise family.
And the one thing I was going to add quickly is the fact that from wherever you're watching now, you can be a part of this movement as well. We have a website, arisewomennng.org. You can order your T-shirts from wherever you are. We have T-shirts in England. We have T-shirts in America and other countries. Even in Nigeria, if you go on our website now, you can place a call. We will deliver a T-shirt to wherever you are in this country this week because the walk is this Saturday. And the plan is to connect as many people as possible. And I was going to share one thing very quickly. We had the testimony of somebody that joined the walk a few years ago. She had applied for a job and then no response for one reason or the other. And we had one of our walks, and coincidentally, the MD of the particular bank was just walking there, no protocol, no escort, nothing like that. The lady simply approached this MD and said, look, I've been applying and all of that. So the MD was like, okay, just give me a call. And in, I think, a week or in 2 weeks or so, she got the job. I mean, it's one thing I've learned a lot from Arise, you know.
I've wanted to do music for a while. So maybe it's an opportunity for me to work with DJ Sachs.
Oh, yes. So I'm going to be working too.
And other musicians.
And other musicians, not just me. So the good thing about this is that we're working in clusters at different points all over the world. So on the website, www.arisewomennng.org, you can go to the website and register anywhere close to you. You can walk in England, you can walk in Lagos, you can walk in Abuja, you can walk in Port Harcourt.
But you must register.
Yes, well, yes.
Why does one have to register?
Registration just makes it easy to handle the crowd, handle everybody coming at different clusters. Registration also makes us have your details, so you know everything that we'll be doing for Arise Women NGO.
Okay, in the future.
Sorry, can I add something on that quickly?
Sure.
So, for example, in Surulere now, I believe we have about 5 different clusters because of the amount of people that are interested in working in Surulere. So one of the reasons that you need to register is because, for example, because of social distancing as well, we don't want to have 100 people in one location. It won't be safe. So we want to split. So in Surulere, we have about about 4 or 5 different clusters in different areas. They have their different routes. So one of the major reasons we register as well is, for example, your area, there might not be a cluster there. Okay. So you registering is you're the one developing your cluster. It can just be you and your family. It can be you and your friends. Anyhow you want to set it up. It's for safe social distancing as well, and also for us to keep track of everyone's movement to make sure everybody's safe.
Do you think, BJ Sachs, that everyone understands the importance, the health benefits of the walk?
That's why we're here. You know, she said earlier that there's a research that says that for every hour you walk, you add 2 hours
to your life.
And that's really serious because we need to exercise. We need to choose life. The theme for this year is I Choose Life. The theme for the work this year is I Choose Life. And that's just trying to say that, you know, we can use preventive measures to increase our lifespan. We can exercise, we can walk. And one of the reasons why this is also important is, you know, when you do things together, we're working together. And we're not just walking, we're working with music. It becomes more interesting, it becomes easier, you understand? It becomes fun. You understand? So you are choosing life, you're having fun, you are increasing your lifespan, you know, everything put together.
Well, some of us are still... Mrs. Latiko, you talked about the gender bias and the gender sensitivity the other time, and it is quite significant, many would say. But when it comes to engaging women, what are some of the challenges? Because look, let's face it, women are half the population of Nigeria, and we, in one of our conversations this morning, we spoke about the girl child, and quite disadvantaged, yet quite resourceful. Are there plans? Is there a thinking in Arise Women to, beyond the empowerment that you talk about, what are the things that you do to follow up to ensure that indeed capacity is growing so that this year's exercise as well is going to have the kind of testimony that Michael shared earlier?
Okay, let me start by using our convener. Let me talk about her and use that to begin to respond to some of those questions. She's a woman, she's a lawyer, she's a beloved wife, she's a philanthropist, she's a speaker, and obviously in this regard, she's an activist. So this is one woman who probably has chosen to empower women and to help them to break this, is it a glass ceiling? I don't know what ceiling we call the female ceiling.
Glass ceiling.
Yeah, to break this ceiling that women are being pressed or pushed under. So one of the things that she does, we have what we call Women in Leadership Conference. We haven't been able to have it because of COVID and all of that in recent times. But what we do is that we bring together women who have been successful in their fields, in whatever they're doing, and we bring them together to talk to all of us and tell us how they got there, what they've done, and how. And usually we have access to them, and we can continue to be with to reach them, to help, and to continue to help those who are not so well off. So, for instance, at our conferences, almost every year, we have women of, you know, timber and caliber, to be colloquial about it. We have big women, we have women who have been successful, and they come and they give their stories, and we put things in place to help them to reach and to mentor other women and to help them. This year in particular, we're actually launching an insurance scheme for women, where we're asking people to to be involved in this scheme, and this scheme will now insure the lives of several women in a community against accidents, against you know, a few things like that. So you can actually come and pay for 5 women in a community, 100 women in a community, and insure their lives for that period of time against accidents, against death. If there's death, they up to a certain ceiling. So this is one woman, Dr. Shiju Iliomade, doing all of this. So we're breaking that inequality. We're beginning to work at it. We're beginning to chip at it. And by doing this, we're encouraging other women. You know, we always talk about giving back and giving back and giving. It doesn't have to be, this is one woman and what she's doing. But she's encouraging each and every one of us to go out there and do something. Even this feeding of the so many thousands and millions with the pink bucket, it's also helping the women. It's helping the women to empowerment, skill empowerment. We run these skill empowerment programs every year where we equip thousands of women. And we've had fantastic testimonies. We have some who have come in who learned soap making, and they are now producing their own soap. We have one who has her own NAFDAC number who is doing insecticide. We have people who came in to learn hat making. They're producing their own hats. They're running their own businesses from maximum a week of training. And they are now equipped to bring themselves and their families out of poverty. So I hope that's answered some of the questions.
Encouraging.
These few words of mine. Well, Michael, I am naturally always talking about this catchment, the young population. What kind of carry along do you see, and what kind of carry along should be? How should the youths, see themselves in the space of such a program as this?
Thank you. I think in the last year, it had been very, very clear, like when the pandemic first hit, I'm going to use that because it's what's going on now. When the pandemic first hit, there was this notion of, it only affects older people. And then in the past year, I personally, a few people as well that are close to my age that have either gotten infected or even some might have even passed away. So the Walk for Life itself, it stresses a lifestyle of exercise, a lifestyle of fitness. And the fact is that there's this thing we always say that, just because you're young, just because you don't have aches, doesn't mean you shouldn't have that habit of exercise. And so in the past, the amount of children, the amount of teenagers, the amount of 20 to 30-year-olds or above that always participate, it's the energy from them alone, it radiates throughout all the other age ranges that come. And the one thing I would say, especially to the younger people that would want to be a part of it, is that it's a lifestyle. It's not something that you develop when you're a particular age. It's something that you work on over time. So that's why me personally, I'm always excited about the walk. And about 2 years ago, I always share this story. It was raining, the rains that day was, I was at home and I was about to go, and the rains were so much, I thought I'd wait out the rain. And then I got a call from my people that, Dr. Shiju was at the venue and she was ready to walk, and I was at home. I was wondering, so I drove through the flood, and when I got there, she had already started walking. It was fantastic to see that joy in nobody. I thought people would be sour. I thought they'd be saying it's raining, we can't walk. But I saw everybody smiling. We have pictures on our website, dancing, jumping in the heavy rains. It was remarkable.
That's it. Everyone just remembered when they were young. And when we played.
Yeah.
Well,
BJ.
We're going to get to that level,
Well, almost.
Okay.
Still about young people, BJ.
Okay.
How many young people are you actually galvanizing with this? Is there a large number of young people walking?
Lots of young people walking.
Because I know that young people are lazy.
No. In fact, I think young people, if you look at
when it comes to exercise, I mean.
No, things are changing. If you look at the websites and the pictures from the past editions, you see a lot of young people walking. A lot of it's mixed. It's a mixed match. You see the young people trying to encourage the older people, the older people trying to encourage the younger people, dancing, having fun. Some of the older people don't even know how to dance. We do simple choreographies just to make sure that everything is seamless, everything is interesting.
I think you're getting to the point where you're going to show us a snippet of what people are going to enjoy that day. But very quick one, Michael. No, let me not send our... How do people register?
Very simple. Our website is built in a way that immediately you log on, the first thing you're going to see is register for your cluster. It's arisewomennng.org. I think that's it on the screen. Fantastic. So the moment you click register, you get to pick your name, your phone number, the areas that you want to walk. And I believe immediately you're done, you'll get a notification either letting you know, for example, if the cluster is full, like we had in Surulere, for example, another cluster can be made. So it's very simple, and it starts. If you want your T-shirts, you can also find it on the website as well. Delivery will be made this week, as I said, especially if you're in Nigeria. We have dispatch riders ready to bring the T-shirts as we're all dressed in our T-shirts, in our caps. We have track suits, we have backpacks, because if you're walking for about 3 to 5 kilometers, you need your water. We have all of that ready as well.
We'll get the rest of the information on the website. But I'll also be expecting the pink basket. Well, we have to thank you very much for being here this morning. Let me begin again with Mrs. Iyabo Ladipo. Thank you so much for your time. And Michael Iligar. Don't be a lawyer. Thank you very much as well. And BJ Sachs. Oh, by the way, you know you will have to sing aloud.
Play us out.
Before we go.
When we have
very quickly say arrivederci.
It's a wrap, everybody. We'll see you next week with a fresh edition. I am Alero Edu.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Bye. Over to you.